Welcome to Sit Downs with City Lifestyle, Vegas edition, serving Red Rock, South Vegas, and Henderson communities. My name's Chrissy Bound. I'm the owner and publisher of Henderson City Lifestyle. And today we are featuring our Meet the Partners series, where we are so excited to give you guys a look behind the scenes at some of the familiar faces that you see in our magazines. So I'm here with Dr. Harpreet Tsui, owner and founder of Coronado Health Direct Primary Care. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We are thrilled. And I actually just have to laugh at the fact that they're giving us microphones, because we jokingly say that the two of us could probably talk for an entire day.
We probably could.
Without taking a breath.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
So for those who may not be familiar with Coronado Health Direct Primary Care, give us a little bit of background about your practice.
So I opened my practice in August of 2022, and my mission at the time was to find a way to give better primary care to the Valley.
Yep.
So I opened it with the hopes of having a smaller panel of patients, but that patients can actually get direct care from their doctor when they need it.
Amazing.
Yes.
And I think that there's such a need for that in the Valley, because especially post-COVID, the Valley was hit hard during the pandemic. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, this can wait. You know, this issue might be able to wait a little bit longer. Are you seeing a lot of influx of patients for people that kind of just put things off during the pandemic?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Every day I get a phone call, hey, I moved here, or I've been here since whenever, and I haven't had a doctor in a year or 2 years, and I think I need to get back in. And I always tell everybody, yeah, this is the right place. Come in. You know, we have to make it friendly. It's a very open communication, doctor-patient relationship. But I've been able to catch a lot of people up from the things that they didn't do during the pandemic.
Doesn't it feel amazing, too, to be able to provide that type of service? Because people are used to that in the medical industry.
It is so amazing. I've been in the Valley for 16 years, and I've had every job. And I have worked in large corporate offices, and I've worked in private practices. And the beauty of direct primary care is that we do have that time and we have that access. And that's what we don't have in the Valley, is people will call their doctor's office because they have a cold and they're being told it'll be a few months. And they're like, but I need to be seen today. And we offer that. And I offer that. And that to me is the most important thing of the practice. I tell people any doctor can give you quantity of life, but not every doctor can give you quality of life.
I love that. I love that. Well, there's also something to be said about the relationship that you build with these patients. I mean, it's just part of your personality, your bubbly, vivacious personality. But you really do take the time to get to know these patients.
Yes.
You know their families, you know their life, and from a physician standpoint, does that help you be able to guide them in some of the advice that you're giving them if you know a little bit more about their background?
100%. I have adult children and their adult parents. I have entire families in my practice. I have patients who spend 6 months of the year in another place and 6 months here. It really guides the way that I treat them, because everybody needs different care. So if I have a family where the adult children are my patients, but they're feeling stressed because their adult parents, who are also my patients, are ill, I can actually take care of the whole family and make sure that everybody in the family is doing their best at that time. And it's that personalized care, right? Again, that is so important. I really, really cherish the doctor-patient relationship.
And that concierge level of service too, if somebody were to go on vacation or if they're traveling or whatever, they can still call you and be like, Harpreet, help me.
Yes, 100%. I have a ton of small business owners. I have a ton of people that travel for their jobs. And it's great because I've had patients across the country, and they wake up with symptoms and they can text me and I can take care of it, send what they need into their pharmacy, or say, do X, Y, and Z, come see me on Monday when you get back into town. And again, it's they feel like I'm their little doctor in their pocket.
Oh, I love that.
They're like, I'm going to pull out my little Dr. Tsui and call her and say, I don't feel well, what should I do?
Yeah.
And so, again, building that relationship.
And that's the other thing too. You're responsive. You're answering them. I mean, that would be a dream for a lot of people, because I feel like, a lot of times people will have ailments, and the wait time is really a barrier in our system right now. So I think that what you're offering to your patients is huge. But
Thank you.
Also the level of care, because you're just like a warm hug. Being around you is like a warm hug.
Thank you. I feel like that.
You are. It's just like a burst of, it's literally an explosion of energy being around you. And it's contagious. And I love it. And I have a question for you today that I've actually never asked, and I'm a little curious about.
Okay.
So being a doctor is hard. What was it that was kind of like the moment where you're like, I'm going to go into medicine. I'm going to become a doctor?
It's very cheesy. I was 4 years old. It's very cheesy. I was 4 years old. I was in my patio. We had like a covered patio back in Florida, and I had lined up all my like stuffed animals. And I was like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm the clinic. I just always wanted to help people. Like that's always just been something that's been very important to me. And I really had a great family doctor, like a true definition of a family doctor growing up. We could see him when we needed to. He saw me from when I was 4 until I was 24. And so somebody that we really trusted, and I thought, well, I could do that. That sounds really fun. And I really just fell in love with medicine. I'm not saying the journey was easy. It was not easy. I'm not saying it was all rainbows and sunshine and unicorns, but it was the thing that I know that I was meant to do.
And you met your husband through that, too.
I did. We met in medical school.
Do you remember the moment that you met Kevin?
Yes. So,
oh, my gosh.
First day of orientation, we're sitting alphabetical. And so I was 2 rows in front of him. And I was sitting next to my roommate. And I turn around and I see this guy. And he would say, I saw her laughing and I like fell in love, which is such a typical Kevin thing to say.
I love it.
But I was like, wow, he seems really funny and smart. And we would do like a lab together and I'd be like, gosh, I can't really understand it. And he would explain it. We were friends. We were definitely friends before we like fell in love. But he's been my rock through it all. And it's been really nice to go through medical school and residency and working and all of that together because he totally gets it.
I love that. And here you are, 2 kids later and a practice. And you guys recently moved your location to a bigger space.
Yes,
congratulations.
thank you.
And Kevin's practice is going to be side by side with yours now.
Yes, so we're very excited.
We're going to have to do another podcast in about a year and say, what is this like working side by side? You know?
Yeah, so we worked together in residency.
Okay.
And, working with your spouse is a different thing.
Yes, I was going to say.
We are 2 very different people.
Yes.
And so the first couple of months, like I would say October, November, December, I was like, well, this is not going to work out. Like we are so different.
Yeah.
But I think we're kind of like in a groove now. He's getting busy. I'm getting busy. Yeah. It's really nice to have him pop in my office and say like, did you bring lunch today? And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, you want to get something?
Oh,
I'm like, yeah,
cute.
that sounds great. Yeah, it's great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Being able to pop out and just grab lunch on a random Tuesday.
And we were in the perfect spot. Like we are right behind the hospital. We're on Horizon Ridge. We're in this medical parkway. It's really just like, it just happened so organically. It's really like the greatest spot for us to be able to grow and build our practices and like be in Henderson for the long haul, which was always my thing. Like when we moved to Henderson and I started practicing here, I said, this is my community. This is my community. I had my children here. Now I'm raising a family here. I see my patients at Target, which is hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Do you do like one of these when you see your patients at Target or?
I usually walk around Target listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So it's like they tap me on the shoulder. Aww. Like, hey, Dr. Tsui. And then they like look at my cart. And I'm like, don't look at my cart.
Don't look at what's
my
in
kids
here.
eat a lot of snacks. Go get some vegetables.
Do as I say, not as
I do. But I think that brings the camaraderie of the city together, right?
Absolutely.
Like it brings you, if you are shopping at the same place your doctor is, your patients are, everyone's there, you then pour more back into the city that you live in.
1,000%. I feel exactly the same way with the magazine.
Yeah.
It's like I love to run into people and meet their families, meet their kids, their moms, everybody, and it's just part of the whole experience. And that's what I think Henderson offers so many of us. There's such a great sense of community in Henderson. And you guys live right around the corner from your practice, too.
Yes, it's even better.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump.
100%.
And then we can all complain about the parking at Trader Joe's.
Yes, exactly.
Which are some of the funniest videos. If you're not following Harpreet on social media, you have to, because her social media videos are absolutely incredible. But I mean, just, looking at some of the patients that you are working with, like, can anybody call to be your patient?
Yes. So I'm an internist or internal medicine doctor. So anyone 18 and above, right?
Okay.
So anyone, men, women, anybody, right? Like I do, my passion is primary care. I do a lot of women's health. I do, and maybe because as my friends and I are all getting to that age too, a lot of perimenopause, a lot of menopause, a lot of weight loss, a lot of those things that are, but it really tied into primary care, right? Again, it's the idea of like, you don't want quantity of years, you need quality of years. And my patients are so active, regardless of age, they're traveling all over the place. Like I need to keep them healthy.
Yeah. And I think it's an interesting thing you talk about with the hormones, because I often wonder now with all the developments that have been made, what did our parents do? Did they just like gut their way through that change of lifetime?
It's very interesting to get on like the medical segue, the Women's Health Initiative study that had been done. A lot of our moms were actually on hormones. There was a time in this country, 70s and 80s, and even 90s, where women were like offered, oh, okay, you're going through perimenopause, here are hormones.
Yep.
When the study came out and all of this stuff started to come out in regards to why hormones could be bad, that's when that other generation of women, a lot of Gen X women, were just taken off of hormones.
Okay.
Now the pendulum is swinging back the other way because we're realizing there's all these benefits. And then the idea is that statistically speaking, women live longer than men. And if we are living half of our lives in the perimenopause, postmenopause era, we should be living the best
our best
years,
lives.
our best lives. Yes. So I am very much I'm not a gatekeeper.
Yep.
I always tell my patients, if you read something, you saw something on socials, like, and you want to talk about it, bring it in. Let's talk about it. Risk benefit analysis, and everybody leaves the office more knowledgeable and with their own plan. But we shouldn't be suffering. Like none of that.
Not needed.
No.
Well, that actually makes me think of something else. So are you having a lot more patients coming in because like, oh, I saw this on TikTok or I saw this on Instagram. Like, do I need this? Like, because there's so much information that's being put out there right now. And it's like, you know, it's hard to distinguish what's real, what isn't, and all those things. So how are you dealing with that?
So again, going back to the fact that it's a direct primary care small practice, I always have that time, right? Every patient appointment is booked for 45 minutes if you need it or don't need it. So when they come to me and they're like, I saw this on the TikTok.
On the TikTok.
Yeah, and I don't know if this means I have it. A lot of it is just breaking down the science. There's a lot of medical misinformation, unfortunately, since the pandemic, right? And now it's easy for people to Google things and not actually fully understand it and then make a video. So it's just about having that conversation. You know, if somebody comes to me and says, do I have cortisol face? Okay, let's have a conversation about what that is.
That would probably be me. Do I have cortisol face? What do I do?
So then the question is these are the things that would cause that. You don't have any of that. But can we change diet? Can we make some tweaks? Like, what can we do? But it's a lot of like combating the medical misinformation. And funnily enough, it's happening in the younger group. So my 20s, early 30s, and then happening in the older, like our parents' age group, because they're getting a lot of medical misinformation. They'll bring in the articles. I have some patients who love to email me, have you read this? I'm like, I'll read it this weekend. Like, we can talk about it. But if you don't have open communication with your doctor as a patient, you're not going to tell them the truth.
And you're not going to get the best care.
Yes. And we can't give you the best care. And I'm the first to admit, I may not understand, like, I don't know what this TikTok means, but just give me 24 hours and I'll figure it out. Right? Because it has to be a partnership.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's so funny because I can't remember what the topic was, but there was a topic that you and Kevin were talking about when I was in the office last time. And I was listening to you because, you know, it went from our traditional banter and then all of a sudden there was like a medical question that came up and I was listening to you guys talk and I felt like I was sitting like, yes. And then afterwards when you guys were done, I was like, Kevin, what does that mean?
Yes.
Like, and so I have to imagine you guys probably get questions like that, like all throughout the day of what does this mean? Because we don't know.
No, and the science is coming out almost too fast. Right. So all these advances, like if you look in the weight loss space, right? So let's touch on that. So I would say at least 45% of my patients are on some sort of weight loss program. And so it's a matter of like, what have you heard? What have you read? And they'll come in with me and be like, well, I saw the Surmount 5 trial. And I'm like, hold up a second. Okay, if we're going to talk trials, like let's like legitimately talk about it. So we get those questions a lot. It's funny because I am the kind of person that usually gives patients too much information.
I love that.
And so
I want all the deets.
Right. So I want to give you all the details because I tell people, like, let's say you're traveling, you're in Chicago, you end up in the ER doctor goes, well, why are you taking this blood pressure medication? I literally want my patients to be like, I was put on this blood pressure medication because it protects my kidneys. Because when we don't know and we're in an emergency, right, then it becomes more difficult. So we get those questions all the time and I just try to educate. It's a lot of education to the patients.
Well, and the nice part is that you give your patients access to you. So if they are in the ER somewhere and the doctor were to say, why are you taking this medication? Call my doctor. She'll answer the phone and you'll be able to talk to her directly, which is so awesome that you do that. I mean, like, do you ever find that do you find a lot of patients are reaching out to you like after hours at different times, or do most people try to keep it within the workday?
It's really interesting. I took a lot of my patients from my previous practice.
Yep.
So I have people who've known me from the
forever.
day that I got married,
Yep.
right, until now, like
Yep.
married with children. And so a lot of patients will really respect my time.
Yeah.
And I say, if you're going to text me at 2 a.m, that's probably,
SOS.
yes, that's an emergency,
Yeah.
right? Like that needs to be seen by an emergency room.
Yep.
But a lot of people will say, like on a Saturday, I just thought of this. I don't want you to read it until Monday. But they all know.
Yeah. That you're going to see
They
it and
know.
read
I'm
it.
going to see it. I'm going to read it. And I'm going to write them back.
Yep.
And so it's interesting because if I forget a message, people will text back and say, like, are you okay? And I said, oh, I read it and I totally forgot to text back. I
Yep.
was making dinner.
Yep.
But they really, really respect my time.
That's
and
nice.
again, I think it's because I respect them as patients. There's just so much mutual respect for the patient. And they get to know me. They know my kids. They see pictures of my kids. They see my husband now. They ask about when we go on vacation.
Yeah.
They know that a healthy, happy doctor is a good doctor.
I love that.
Yeah.
So is there anything that we might not know about your practice that you'd want our audience to know about you?
Wow, that is a very good question.
Well, and that's a stumper. And I only ask that question just because, there's so many different layers to what you're offering. And I wonder if people are aware of the fact that they can go to one person and have all these different facets of their healthcare covered.
Yes. So again, internist. So I see all adults, but I've been trained in pretty complex things. So I see very complex patients with lots of heart disease, lung disease, neurological diseases. And I pride myself on getting all the records, right? So I tell people, let me be the custodian of your healthcare. So I will see you, but I will also get all the records for everyone else you've seen, and I will comb through it.
Okay.
So it's not that you're just coming to see me, you come in twice a year, you get your things, you move on your life. No, it's me going through there and saying, wow, Mr. Jones, you are due for a colonoscopy. Did you remember 5 years ago it looked like this? Like, no, I didn't remember. Yeah. So I'm very meticulous. I write a lot of notes. And having a small patient population, like a very small panel like that, allows me to do that. So when people call my office and they say, how are you different than like a traditional doctor?
Yeah.
In the traditional sense, you would go see your physician, usually scheduled a couple times a year, have your blood work. You get 15 minutes with them. I tell them, there's no cap. If you want to come every day, you're more than welcome to.
Yep.
You want to sit down and have a cup of coffee. I have made cups of coffees for patients
Aw.
and been like, let's just sit down and have like a therapeutic session today.
Yes.
Just
Yep.
so we can go through everything that's happening. And so it's a matter of having a doctor that is fully looking through your records and saying, okay, in 3 months you're due for this, in 4 months you're due for that. Like, hey, did you get your flu shot? Oh, by the way, there's this norovirus, GI bug,
Yep.
and you're going to see your grandkids, and I just want you to try these things.
Yep.
So I am always there. Again, like a little tiny Dr. Tsui in
I
their
love
pocket.
that so much. Now that you told me that, I'm never going to get that image out of my mind. My little mini Dr.
Just
Tsui.
a mini Dr. Tsui. Because a lot of people, everyone has their own life. Unless you're a doctor, you're not thinking about healthcare 24/7.
No,
Like,
you're
just not. Because
No.
you've got other things to
Yes.
do.
Until something's wrong with you, that's
Yes.
when you start to think about it.
Yes.
And normally we put it off until the last minute even then.
100%. And I'm also really good with those patients because
Yeah.
like in our generation, like
Yeah.
the millennials, like we will be like, we're fine.
Yeah, we're fine.
We'll just throw some Windex on it
Yeah.
and move on, Yeah.
Oh my God.
But then
That's hilarious.
we get really sick.
Yes.
And then it's,
And then it's an SOS.
Then it's an SOS. It's calling me and it's like, I tweaked my back,
I can't
fixing the
move.
garbage disposal and now I'm laying on the floor. Okay, what can we do? So it's so different in that sense that it is very old-timey medicine.
I love
It's
it.
almost like, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Like,
Yes.
I do.
Oh my God, I loved that show.
I love that show too. I
Of
love
course
it.
you
Of course,
did.
I know. I
That's
did. I loved
hilarious.
it. I've got some older patients that have mobility issues. I do home visits for them.
Oh my gosh.
I say, don't worry. Don't even think about trying to find a ride to come down here.
Yeah.
It is always ultimately going to be easier for me to come up to you.
Yeah.
And I don't mind doing that. And
Yeah.
so it's just really having somebody who cares about you as a person and also cares about your health. Like who
Yeah.
sees you as somebody who has a very rich and fulfilling life and wants to keep their rich and fulfilling life.
It's bringing the heart back into medicine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that.
It
Yes,
is.
It really
Seriously.
is.
Because it's the way that medicine started originally, and then it got so big.
Yes.
And you're bringing it back to, you're bringing the heart back into medicine again.
Yes, and because I don't take insurance,
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with the whatever quality measures or whatever insurance is asking, or the coding or the co-pays. And so I actually have quite a lot of business owners that are, solo, new into business, may not have health insurance. Come here. We draw your labs. We'll take care of everything. We don't charge extra for EKGs or injections, but know that you're still going to be okay.
Yeah. And you have an affordable monthly service too.
Yes.
That's the other thing too. I think sometimes people might think like, well, it's concierge, it's going to be so expensive. But you have a very affordable pricing model for your patients, which allows them that accessibility. It's really the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it really is.
If somebody were to want to reach out, what would you recommend that they do? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to go to the website? What do you prefer?
So on the website, which is coronadohealthdpc.com, there is a little button. It says schedule a meet and greet, and you can schedule a free meet and greet with me. It's 15 minutes over the phone or over Google Meet, and we get to talk, and you get to learn about me and the practice. I get to learn a little about you. We see if you're a good fit. Everyone's always welcome to call. They're welcome to email. I will get back to you. Our practice is me and my medical assistant. That's it.
I love that.
Yeah, so we know everybody, and we will get back to you. In fact, just before I came here, I had a patient who was waiting at the pharmacy for something, and he texted and said, "I need you to call the pharmacy." And I called the pharmacy, and the pharmacy tech goes, "Wow, the doctor called?" I'm like, "Yeah."
They never call.
I'm like, "The patient told me you needed me."
Yeah.
And the pharmacy tech was like, "This never happens."
Yeah.
So, it's all of that quality care. We're still available all the time, but schedule a meet and greet or call. You can even text and say, "I don't know how to schedule a meet and greet, but I'd really like to get to know you more." And I'll do that for you.
Yeah.
Whatever's easier.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time away from your practice to be with us today. We appreciate it. We loved having you on.
Thank you for having me.
You are literally a warm hug in this world.
Oh,
and
thank you so much.
We appreciate your time. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.